Good morning. You're listening to Hannah Fridhed, sitting in for Russell Thomas this morning on Impact. Impact is a collaboration of United Way, Fuse Social, Shaw TV, Fort McMurray, and 91.1 The Bridge. Our guest this morning is Marilyn Donaldon, Commanding Officer of the Air Cadets here in Fort McMurray. Welcome,
Good morning,
Marilyn.
Hannah.
Welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I came to Fort McMurray in 2012. I originally started with the cadet program in Ontario. So when my son turned 12, I joined as a civilian, part of the Navy League, it was Sea Cadets in Fort McMurray, in Ontario. When I moved to Fort McMurray in 2012, I joined the Air Cadet Squadron here because we have no Sea Cadets in Fort McMurray. So that was a new experience for me. And in 2015, in October, I took over as commanding officer here, as the past commanding officer had to leave town for work. So she moved to Calgary and I took over the squadron here.
Wow. I've, not being from Canada, I don't know that much about the Air Cadets. Could you tell me a little bit what you guys do?
Sure. So the Air Cadets, the cadet program in general is for youth from ages 12 to 19, so boys and girls. We have a few different aims. We foster physical fitness, citizenship, leadership, and an interest in the Canadian Armed Forces.
Interesting. You operate out of the Boys and Girls Club, correct?
Yes, we do, here on Rydell Street, downtown in Fort McMurray. So as soon as youth turn 12, they're welcome to come and join us there. So we do a program every Tuesday night. And we also do some activities throughout the week, Thursday night, the odd weekend. So we do all kinds of exciting things.
Tell me a little bit about the programs and activities you guys do.
Okay, so we do, as I mentioned, the physical fitness portion. So we do an active physical fitness program. We try to do a fitness evening at least once a month. We encourage cadets to do activities outside of the cadet program that develop physical fitness and healthy living. We do a lot of citizenship activities, so we are very actively involved in the community. We do some food bank things. We do do a lot of coat checks and assist other organizations when we can in volunteering that fosters citizenship. Leadership is a big portion, so our Tuesday night activities involve classroom training. There's a program set out for us that we have to follow. It's a really good program. They have to meet the training expectations to move up in rank and levels. So the program ends up generating a lot of leaders in our community. It teaches them skills that they can learn or they can use throughout their entire life.
For sure. I'm thinking with the physical fitness, I can't help but picturing these obstacle courses and people swinging from monkey bars and crawling through mud.
We don't do a lot of that. I mean, that's certainly a fun team building activity that we can do. Most of the stuff ends up being inside. We do a few competitions, so we'll do some volleyball, basketball competitions throughout the year. They do a Survive Air, which isn't necessarily physical fitness, but it teaches them for survival skills, and they definitely need to be fit in order to do that. So that competition will be coming up in May. They'll travel outside of town to do that. We do some range competitions, so they get to shoot air rifles, not anything live. Yeah. We'll save that for the real armed forces if they decide to move on to that.
Fair enough. You got to start somewhere.
That's right. So we also do some biathlon. So if the people are interested in the shooting part, we do adventure training exercises at least twice a year.
Adventure training?
Yes. So they do, would be like I want to really say camping survival stuff. They learn air survival as well as wilderness survival.
What is air survival? I'm trying to picture it here, and
So the exercise would involve if your aircraft crashed, what would you do? So the weekend would be set up so that you would use things from your aircraft.
Oh, wow.
to survive. How would you signal other aircraft if you landed?
How would you
So-
signal another aircraft?
So they would use whatever they have, whatever type of material they would have to make different signals on the ground. So you could light a signal fire as well.
Wow.
Interesting stuff that
These
way.
are skills I do not have. I can walk through the birchwood trails and survive, but
So they would learn what you can eat, right? What's safe to eat, what's not safe to eat, how to build an improvised shelter. So that kind of stuff.
neat. How many air cadets do you have in Fort McMurray?
So right now we're sitting around 40. Essentially, or last year we were up to about 65, but because of the fire, we've lost some enrollment. So we're hoping to rebuild next year and be back up to that.
How did the evacuation impact the air cadets?
So we lost a few who didn't come back. I think the biggest impact is the fact that people aren't starting new things. So usually on a typical year, we would have about 20 to 25 new enrollments. So 12-year-olds coming in. This year we had 6. So hopefully next year we're back to that normal stuff. It's been a really good year for the cadets though, because they've been able to, being a smaller group, I think it's allowed them to bond a little better. So some great leadership opportunities for the younger cadets who don't always get that. So our squadron is operated by the seniors in our program.
Okay.
So the officers, although we provide guidance and do teach when we need to, most of the class is taught by the senior cadets. So that's where they get their leadership skills. They start as 12-year-olds and as level 1s, learning how to be part of a group, learning how to fit in. And then as they progress, they get teaching skills, leadership skills, learn how to deal with problem solving, all of that kind of stuff. So by level 3, they're starting to teach. By level 4, they are actually teaching classes, and level 5s are what we expect to actually teach most of the classes in our program.
Do a lot of the cadets go on into the military and the Air Force?
There's no expectation that they do. There's only a few who do, and they usually end up being having very successful careers in the armed forces. But a lot of them become leaders in the community. So, I mean, the one that I guess comes to mind, the most famous air cadet that I can think of is Chris Hadfield. So,
Oh,
yeah, so he was an air cadet.
interesting. So he would know all the survival tools.
I would, so it's part of the training that's provided to us, yes. Yeah.
You're listening to Impact 91.1 The Bridge. Our guest this morning, Marilyn Donaldson. We'll be right back. And welcome back. You're listening to Hannah Fridhed, sitting in for Russell Thomas this morning on Impact, a collaboration of United Way, Fuse Social, Shaw TV, Fort McMurray, and 91.1 The Bridge. Our guest this morning is Marilyn Donaldson, Commanding Officer of the Air Cadets in Fort McMurray. And actually, I keep calling it the Air Cadets, but your official name is 868 YMM Rotary Northstar.
Yes, RCACS, which stands for Royal Canadian Air Cadet Squadron. So our name comes from our sponsors. So 868 is the number they gave us when we joined, or when we began as a squadron in 1979. The Rotary part comes from the Rotary Club of Fort McMurray, so they are a huge sponsor of us, as well as the YMM, so the Airport Authority also became a sponsor in 2012. So without those people helping us get through, we probably wouldn't be still here. So
That's great. There's a lot of community involvement with the Air Cadets, both as a cadet and throughout the community.
yes.
Which is it's fantastic. I was curious, how big is the Air Cadets in Canada?
I don't really know what our numbers are. I know we have squadrons in every province of Canada. So the cadet program has 3 different segments. So there's the Air Cadets, the Sea Cadets, and the Army Cadets. So there are a lot of youth involved throughout Canada. So our sponsorship comes from, so we're supported by DND, so the Department of National Defense supports our officers and supplies us with our training program, as well as summer camps, so cadets can go off to summer camp, and all of that is sponsored and by the Department of National Defense. But all of the extra things that we do, and so having a building, all of the recruiting stuff, any extras that we do needs to be supported through these sponsors. So the Airport Authority, the Rotary Club, we have a group of parent committee, the Air Cadet League sponsors us as well. So they are the civilian group that partner with the Department of National Defense to run the cadet programs across Canada.
Do you have a lot of parents involved as well? That's how you got involved, right?
We do. I started as a parent when my son turned 12, which would have been in a long time ago, 2002, I believe, yeah. I started with then it was the Navy League because I was with the Sea Cadet program. And I took over as president of that group because we were a small corps in small town Ontario. And so I did that until 2012. I didn't become an officer until 2012 once he aged out. So cadets can only be part of the program until they turn 19. And a lot of them will go on to becoming officers and continue on in the program. But yeah, so when he aged out, then I got into uniform, joined the D&D side of the cadet program. So I still here because it's an amazing program for the youth. It teaches them so many skills that they can use for their whole life. I'd just like to see it continue. What has it taught you? That must have been quite the change going from a civilian to a uniform. It was. The D&D provides us with some pretty good training to deal with youth, so I learned a lot about how youth think and that kind of stuff, which I didn't know before. Probably would have really liked to know when my kids were turning 12, but so learning because I wasn't, a lot of officers come up through the cadet program, so they've been involved in those rules and rank and all of that stuff, and it's just natural to them. So that was a little bit of a struggle for me learning the military side, but I really enjoy it. So. I'm really intrigued by the military side, not having done any sort of military training myself, nor have my brothers. It's not quite a thing in Sweden. So it's how many ranks can you rise in the ranks now that you're with the Air Cadets? Or so I started out. My rank now is captain. Most likely, as in this role, I probably won't go further in the ranks. If I was the CO of a large squadron, I could become a major. I could go up higher in ranks, but I expect that unless I take on a different posting, then I will probably stay as a captain for the rest of my career. Fair enough. Do you know how to fly a plane? No. Oh, no. I would love to learn someday. We do flight school as part of our training. So our cadets actually, we have quite a few cadets that have got their wings through the program. They can go to summer camp and they can get their glider pilot, and then they can continue on and they can apply to get their actual power pilot license through the program. So what's a glider pilot? Is that one of those planes that just glide? Yeah, yeah, really nice. Quiet, no engine. Yeah, it looks terrifying. I would love to try it. Yeah, no, it's actually quite fun. So yeah. Have you done it? I haven't had the opportunity to do it, but most of my cadets have. So because we're so remote here in Fort McMurray, we don't get to go gliding as often as some of the other squadrons. So we usually do power. Oh. We do a program called Flight Familiarization, and all of the cadets get to go up in either an airplane, or this year we're going to have the opportunity to fly in the Griffin helicopters. So they're going to come from Edmonton and do our flight familiarization program. So that should be really exciting for them. That would be amazing. Yeah. When is that, this summer? That should be either the end of April or sometime in May. We're still waiting for a confirmed date. But yeah, it should be really exciting. So,
how old do you have to be to actually be in a powered aircraft?
to fly it?
Yeah.
I believe 15 they can start getting their power.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I bet there's a huge lineup to get to try that.
There is, and not all of them will. So they'll all get to try it, but not all of them will get into that program. Unfortunately, there's only a certain number of billets. But the ones that work really hard and pass the exam have a really good opportunity to go to camp and get that. So.
That's fantastic. I'm a little jealous now.
Yes.
Kind of want to be an Air Cadet.
Me too.
So the Air Cadets do a lot of volunteering around the community. Can you tell me a little bit about what you guys usually do?
So we get involved in a lot of coat checks. We help out with the Boys and Girls Club wherever we can. So we volunteer at some of their activities. Usually people who just need a hand with something will contact us, and depending on our availability, we'll try to provide a few cadets to come and help out with whatever it is that they need.
How do you think all this volunteering affects the youth that are involved?
I think it teaches them to be part of their community. I think one of the big things that youth get out of the program in general is the citizenship piece is very large. It teaches them that it is important to become involved and to help others.
And we're going to go for a quick little break. You're listening to Impact 91.1, The Bridge. Our guest this morning is Marilyn, Donaldson, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. You're listening to Impact on 91.1, The Bridge. Our guest this morning is Marilyn Donaldson, and we're talking about her involvement as captain in the Air Cadets. I would love to hear a little bit more about the people you work with and your team.
I have an amazing team of adults that help me help run the squadron on a daily basis. So we have 3 uniformed officers aside from myself who work regularly with the Air Cadets. I also have 1 civilian volunteer, 2 civilian volunteers, sorry, and then a bunch of just regular civilians who come and volunteer their time just to help us whenever we need to. So we have a lot. Sometimes we pull in extra people when we're doing our adventure training, like I was saying. Some of the screen volunteers will come along and help us run the kitchen, run some of the programs. Takes a lot of hands to get all those things together. So we have all of the officers that are on our slate are trained officers as well with the Department of National Defense. So we would have an officer that runs our training program, specifically our administration officer. We have a lot of supply. We have just a lot of different positions that are available. We're always looking for other people who are interested in working with the squadron. Everyone who does work with cadets have to be screened through the RCMP. We have to do a vulnerable sector screening as well as just the regular police check to make sure that they're safe to work with youth.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Is it mostly parents who get involved from the civilian side?
A lot of them are parents. Some of them are past parents. I have quite a few who started out as parent volunteers and just continued on. The other base that we have is a lot of past cadets. So we have a really good return rate. So at least 4 of the people that are working with the cadet program or cadets right now have been through the cadet program and just continued on as officers. So.
It's fantastic.
It is.
Why do you think that the return rate is so high? What makes people come back?
It's just an amazing program. So people see the value. It's a lot of fun, and we do a lot of fun things throughout the year. You know, aside from all of the training, we have a lot of scheduled training, but we also have a really good, a lot of esprit de corps, we call it. So the the squadron is a really good, the cadets often spend time outside of cadets together as a group as well. So it ends up being a good bonding experience for life. And there's cadets who go off to camp and meet other cadets from around the world at camp who keep in contact with those people throughout their entire life. So,
are there a lot of international camps that happen?
There's an opportunity for cadets to apply in their senior years for an international exchange. So there's several other countries that they can go to. It changes every year which ones are available, but they can apply and go and get a chance to see other parts of the world. And the amazing thing, I guess, about the program that we haven't talked about is the fact that it's completely free to parents. So when they go away to summer camp, they're either going to go for a 2, a 3, or a 6-week camp, and there's no cost at all to the parents.
None?
None.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, uniforms are provided free.
So if you could say something to all the volunteers that you work with at the Air Cadets, what would you say to them?
I just like to point out what an amazing group of people that we have that show up at the squadron week after week. They put in a lot of time, and there's a lot of time put in behind the scenes, not only on Tuesday night and Thursday night, but throughout the entire year. People's time is valuable, and we certainly couldn't still exist without the volunteers that we have. So kudos to all of those. The other thing is that a lot of the volunteers that I have also volunteer or work in other volunteer capacities throughout the community. So to give us the extra time that they have is just amazing.
And giving the youth this opportunity to learn and to grow.
Yes, we're building the leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah. So is your son a return cadet as well?
So he is not at this point. So he did go into the armed forces. So he became a weapons tech in the armed forces. He's now gone on, finished with the armed forces and gone on to a civilian career. But I expect at some point in his life he will become part of the cadet program.
It does seem like it pulls you right back in again.
Yes, I actually had 2 sons in the cadet program when they were growing up. So yeah.
Did they both go on to be in the military?
No, one did not. One is actually here in Fort McMurray working. So. Yeah.
Well, Fort McMurray does have that effect on people. You kind of stick around.
But it still creates leaders, so it's.
And you get to fly a helicopter if you're lucky. Is there anything you'd like to say before we sign off for today?
I guess just a big thank you for this opportunity to talk about cadets. It's a great program for youth, and I encourage all parents to explore it, to have their youth join the program, even if they just want to come out and see what we're all about. A big shout out to our sponsors and the volunteers that help us make this program available to the youth. I think I've said it quite a few times, but I really feel like this program sponsors creates leaders. It creates just all around good people, whether they plan to go into the armed forces in the future or just use the skills that they get to further their careers. It's well worth spending a little bit of time.
So if one is interested to get involved, how to best get in contact with you guys?
So the easiest way is actually just to contact us through our website. All of our contact information is on there. So if we have an email account is probably the easiest. You can check us out on our Facebook page as well. You can see we try to post a lot of fun pictures on there, so you can see all the fun things that we do on there. And then our website is just 868 RCACS. So if you just Google Fort McMurray Air Cadets, we come up. So
should pop right up there. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning on Impact with our guest, Marilyn Donaldson. Marilyn, thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you very much for having me here.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, mine as well.
Impact is a collaboration of United Way, Fuse Social, Shaw TV, Fort McMurray, and 91.1 The Bridge. Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.